I'm Joey Mulland and you are watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other that we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug.
Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. I'm here today with Joyce Isaacson, who I've known for a long time. Joyce is the author of the book, Wish You Were Here Badfinger, a rock fantasy. Badfinger, as many of you may know, is a well-known, famous rock band. They were connected to Apple Records and the Beatles in their becoming well-known. There are certainly a number of songs that almost anyone above the age of 30 will know whenever they come on the radio. And if you don't know it's Badfinger, if you heard the songs, you would definitely know them. Joyce, welcome to the show, first of all. And
thank you.
Tell me, first of all, how did you decide that Badfinger was a band you wanted to write about, and why a rock fantasy rather than a biography or a history of them?
Well, basically it all started back in 2009. My husband made me a Facebook page, and I moved it to 2014 because I was on MySpace. And my husband, he had his own radio station, just a little radio station, and he asked me to put away some CDs, and I came across, while I was putting them away, the Best of Badfinger, and I recognized Joey Mulland on the cover. And I knew who Joey Mulland was because I had been trying to see him for ages.
And let me just tell everyone, Joey Mulland is a friend of mine. He is the lead singer and the main person in the current lineup of Badfinger. And his son lives right here in Chicago. He's a chef right here in Chicago. And Joey, of course, is English. And an amazing, amazing singer, guitar player, and writer. And so you knew who Joey Mulland was?
Yes.
And did you know who the rest of Badfinger was at this time?
Not really.
Not really. So you did research?
Well, actually, what happened was I saw on the liner notes, I saw each and one of them and a little bit tidbits about them. And I put on the CD and I heard Rock of All Ages, and I fell in love with it because it sounded like a Beatles song.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, how can I explain this? So after I heard it, I told Phil about it. He says, yeah, it does sound like a Beatles song. And I decided to listen to some of the other songs, and I really started to like them. And I asked my husband, I said, can I join a Badfinger group? And he said, sure.
A fan club, like?
Like a fan club, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I decided to join, and I found out everybody was hurting from the tragedy that happened to Badfinger, that two of the members had committed suicide. And I felt like really, really sad about this. And so, the kind of person I am, I just decided to write a snippet of them being really happy in heaven. And I got all these likes and comments, and they were all positive. And so I decided to write a little bit more, and it just snowballed. And I said, well, how did some of these people that I wrote into the story get into the story? So I wrote a backstory. And then from there, it just took off.
Wow, wow, wow. So let me go back to Badfinger and stuff. First of all, you mentioned the Beatles, as I mentioned at the beginning, and just one of the Beatles songs actually became more famous by Badfinger than the Beatles, and that's Come and Get It, which was written by Paul McCartney. It has a Lennon and McCartney credit on it. And it was actually not the Beatles who made it famous, though they recorded it. It was actually Badfinger who made it famous, and I'm sure most people out there who are watching right now know that song. Tell me a little bit about the members. Who were the members of the original Badfinger that you talk about in the book? Because the book is really, it's a great story. It also tells you a lot about the band Badfinger itself. And, you know, people today don't always follow 60s bands that became 70s bands and lost members and replaced members and then didn't tour for years and then got together again and replaced those members. Tell me, who were the original members of Badfinger and who were the ones that committed suicide?
Okay, the original band members is, well, Pete Ham, Tom Evans, Mike Gibbons, and Joey Mulland.
And who's left in the band today besides Joey?
Bob Jackson.
And what does he play?
He plays guitar, and he's in England. They're sort of split up. He has the England side, and Joey has the American side.
So the two of them both tour. And do they come together on tour still ever?
One time I think I remember that they did, but I don't know.
Okay, all right. So tell me about the two guys that committed suicide and what was their story. And I know that's part of your book too.
Well, Pete Ham, well, they got rooked by their manager.
The whole band did.
The whole band did. And Pete, unfortunately, I guess, in the beginning he was like for the manager and everything, and when he found out that the manager was, you know, rooking them, he had a baby on the way, he just bought a house, and he realized that he was betrayed, and so he committed suicide. He hung himself.
Terrible, terrible. And who was the other band member?
And Tom Evans, he actually cut Pete down because he was called from Ann, Pete's girlfriend at the time, and so anyway, he cut him down, and he'll always remember that, and he wanted to, you know, at times be where Pete was, because he also was very depressed, and he was drinking at the time, but he did get together with, later on, Joey Mulland, and they did form a new Badfinger, and then I guess they didn't chart or something happened, so they made actually 2 albums, and it didn't go anywhere. And so they had a riff, I guess, from what I read, and they had opposing Badfinger groups. And Tommy, at the time, he got involved with another manager, and this manager also betrayed him as well. They were supposed to get gigs, and this manager did not, I guess, deliver. So Tommy broke his contract with this particular manager, and the manager was trying to sue him for breaking the contract. And Tommy had a lot of things going on at the time, and next thing you know, he hung himself as well.
Wow, wow, wow. What a story. So Joey went on to have, over the years, a very successful solo career, reforming Badfinger now and still touring on a solo basis and with Badfinger, with the new members. Tell me, when you wrote your book, which You Were Here Badfinger, who do you talk about? I want you to tell us who you talk about. I know because I've read through the book. But who do you talk about in the book? The other musicians that, besides the Beatles, we know the Beatles, of course, certainly made Badfinger who they were.
Yes.
But tell me, who you talk about that Badfinger came in contact with that helped them through their career, and you mentioned in the book.
Well, in the book, actually, Tommy is searching for Pete Ham, and on his way he meets old friends and famous new ones on his voyage, his heavenly voyage.
So this is a heavenly voyage as part of the fantasy we're talking about.
Yes.
So who do you talk about in your heavenly voyage?
Well, most notable is he meets Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Andy Kaufman. And
Not a musician, but a comedian, yeah.
Yes. And
And who else after
and
Andy
that-
Kaufman?
And Dennis, after that, John Belushi
Ah,
and Dennis Wilson.
Dennis Wilson, who drowned in California.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are some of the people he meets. But the most interesting stories of the characters that bring the story along the way is Cass Elliot, Freddie Mercury.
Mama Cass.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury of Queen.
Yes, has Bohemian Rhapsody now.
Yeah, the movie about him.
Mm-hmm. Peter Sellers, and definitely Harry Chafin, and Mark Bowen from T-Rex.
Wow, wow, wow.
They're
So
all
you were able to bring a little bit of their personalities into the book, and this is one of the things I loved about the book. And so you know a little bit about these people and kind of intertwine them
Yes.
with the late members of Badfinger. Now you've written, because we've known each other, I started reading your short stories maybe about 15 years ago. The first time you gave me a short story to read, and you started writing little books and little stories. When did you start writing? How long ago?
Actually, I started writing when I was about 8 years old.
Oh, when you were young. You've really
Yes.
been writing your whole life. You've really been writing your whole life. Well, that's
Yes.
great. So tell me, what's your favorite part about the book, and what do you think you're going to do in the future? And you have a picture to show us too. I wanted to see.
This is my Rock Dreams,
Uh-huh.
and Rock Dreams is a story that actually, they're drawings that I did from 1979 to 2015.
Uh-huh.
And
You plan on publishing it?
it is published,
Uh-huh.
and we were told.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
what I wanted to say was that I think what's interesting about the story is that the people in the story affect Tommy in a certain way that helps him on his search for looking for Pete Ham.
Uh-huh.
And just knowing something about each and every character, I do put a little tidbit of each one in there. And I think what I really love about it is the dialogue between each and every one of them.
Very nice.
That was something that was
Yeah.
important to me.
It's really, if you know Badfinger, it's really an exciting book to read, because the characters come to life, and the whole fantasy of the next world that you bring in is really something interesting. And today, of course, for those of us who know Joey Mulland as well as I know him, I know you've met him and know
Well,
him
I've
as
only
well.
met him once.
Oh, you only met him once? Oh,
I met him
with
once,
me.
but
I was there with you when you met him then.
Yeah, he
But
hugged
you've
me
talked
like
to
so
him.
many times.
He knows you.
And he encouraged me to keep on writing.
Very nice, very nice. But I think that it's definitely good reading. Wish You Were Here Badfinger, a rock fantasy by Joyce Isaacson. Thank you, Joyce, so much. We're going to be back in a few minutes with Joyce's husband, who is a radio host, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I want to thank all of you for being with us. If you want to know more about Wish You Were Here Badfinger or Joyce Isaacson, you can email us at info@tvrabbi.com, and I will forward those emails to Joyce, and she will get back to you with any information you want to know. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to us also at info@tvrabbi.com. Be sure to check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web. And stay with us. Soon coming up on the show is Phil Isaacson talking about his radio show. We'll be right back. We're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. I'm here with Joey Mulland of Badfinger. Joey, welcome. And Joey Mulland of Joey Mulland, of course.
What?
Solo artist, incredible singer and player.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Been on our show before here at the fest.
I have.
Welcome back. We're here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and I'm here with Phil Isaacson. How are you, Phil?
How are you, Ralph?
Good. Phil and I are friends for many years. Phil and I have a lot of things in common. For example, Phil and I have both been in radio for many years, in media, and we've done concerts together for years. As many of you know who watch my show, I am the exclusive television coverage of Beatle Fest. I also attend a lot of concerts and have met, as many of you have seen on our show, many well-known rock and roll and folk musicians. And one of the people that knows just about as many musicians as I do is Phil Isaacson. Phil, tell us about internet radio. Tell us about your radio show. How do you get started on internet radio? And how did you get started even wanting to host a show? How did that all come about?
Well, I was on social media for a while. And then in 2010, The Drive in Chicago was doing a promotional thing that they ended up doing eventually for 5 years called the Sunday Night Star. And that's where they let listeners take over the radio station for 1 hour on a Sunday night. And I happened to enter the contest, everything. They wanted 15 to 17 songs. And I thought to myself at the time, how would I be The Drive? And sure enough, I ended up being the first Sunday Night Star. And even the fact that that happened to be that way was that Dave Mason from Traffic was supposed to be the first one, and he was unavailable, which he later did the show, but I ended up being first. So sometime around 2011, I started doing my show, at that time just a video show on blip.fm, which was like an internet radio version of the fuzz.fm thing, alternative to YouTube, where they let people post your own YouTube videos of musical songs, and you would basically be...
And you don't get paid for it.
No,
it's
don't get paid
just
for it.
something you did.
Right, just something you did. And then
like a hobby.
Right. So in 2011, I started doing, let's say, a formal show on Saturday nights. It was about an hour, and the reason why it was an hour is I got tired of watching Saturday Night Live. And the reason why I didn't make it the full 90 minutes at that time was I loved the show called Live from Daryl's House, which is Daryl Hall from...
Oh, I know that show. I know that show. What a great show.
The half-hour segments at that time were on in Chicago. So I actually cut my show off, 11:30 to 12. That was it. But later, when he moved the show, I went and extended the show half an hour to full 10:30 to midnight, and I've done over 300 shows, almost 350, and about 175 of those shows are on YouTube under an archive called The Sound of Good Tunes.
So your show is on the radio, but it's also videotaped?
I do a video show in addition to that, which is sort of to introduce everybody to the radio show. The radio show, I'm on weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. Chicago time. My wife is on from 12 to 3 p.m. and we have various other DJs, including Joe Campagna, who was a DJ on the Loyola radio station back in the late 80s. And we have various other DJs who are also amateurs. That's the one thing we stress, is that we are a co-op and that everybody sort of chips in to be able to give their 3 hours. And so that has been going on since 2013.
Wow. So you are actually have a web address?
Yes.
And it is a web radio address that people can actually tune into your show live when it is on the air.
Correct.
And you have at home, you have the equipment to play the music on the air live, and you're able to do that. Is it because it's a not-for-profit and it's not something that's commercial, is there any problem with copyrights and things like that for music? Because even on websites that take videos on the air, they're very careful with copyrights, and they'll monetize you to copyright with some commercial about the person you're copywriting, or they'll cut you off completely because you've used something copyrighted. Do you have that problem when you're on an internet radio station?
One of the things we have to do is we have to have a licensing company with us. And that's one of the things that I've worked the last so many months. And hopefully very soon, certainly by the time that this airs, we will be full-fledged, our own complete website instead of just the radio station and so forth.
So tell me a little bit about internet radio. And you play music. You do something sort of like what satellite radio does. If people listen to deep tracks on satellite radio, you try and use themes in your show so that the music connects to each other in different shows and stuff. What's your favorite? What do you like to do on the air that makes you unique and someone's going to want to turn on internet radio and listen to, rather than open up an app for an old radio station that's off the air, such as we have in Chicago, or for a satellite app radio station? What makes you unique?
Okay, one of the things that I developed over the last couple of years, and this is a thing that I do monthly on the video show, is a show called Girls Night Out. And Girls Night Out features female solo artists, girl groups, and lead singers that are female. They have some bands, for example, like Fleetwood Mac, even though Lindsey Buckingham is sang, but the majority of them is Stevie Nicks or Christine McVie. And other things is that we like to give indie artists the chance to show their work. And over the course of time, my wife is ended up doing a project right now called Outside the Box, where she features indie artists. And we also have a world music show hosted by DJ 1000, also known as Adam Bales. And he does that where he brings rock from all areas of the world. And that's like a Sunday night feature.
Very interesting. So now you've, like I said, met a lot of the artists that you've had on the air, and you go to a lot of concerts like I do, and we go to a lot of concerts together during the year as well. So tell us some of the people you've met that are well known and famous, and I know you brought some stuff with us to show us.
Okay, yep. Most notable would be John Oates from Hall & Oates.
Oh,
yes. I met him early last year.
And he's done promos for you.
He's done promos from the station, which is known as the Friendly Smell Frenzy Network, by the way. And he also managed to autograph his book, so you can see that. Comedian Kip Adada also autographed his book for us, and he gave us songs to play. He's a sort of a musical, he doesn't call them parody songs because they're original songs, but he's also been a friend of mine for years, and he speaks to us often. And Jim Messina, actually for his 70th birthday, he called us
Of Loggins and Messina, Jim
Messina, and autographed his EP here, as you can see.
And he also did a little bit of a promo for you.
Yes, he also did a promo a couple times. And from Hall & Oates band in Life in Daryl's House, guitarist and keyboardist Elliot Lewis.
Oh, very, very well known, yeah. Oh, very nice.
And actually, on the last time he was here for a solo show in Chicago, I was his chauffeur as well. And we
got to hang out with
got to hang out, yes.
Very nice.
And
so who else? Who else do you have to show us? Anybody else?
Yes. So over the course of time, thanks to Elliot, Daryl Hall, who does not sign very many things these days, he went and signed photo. And if you can see, this is an old photo dating back to '79 when Daryl did his first solo album back then. So this was
pretty cool.
Pretty cool. For him to autograph that, it's one of our and one of our friends from social media is Leah Remini from the show King of Queens, and she sent us an autograph photo here.
So you got a lot of famous listeners and fans that you've come across over the years.
Sure.
What do you think is the highlight of internet radio? Do you think it's going to expand beyond commercial radio, internet radio? Because anybody who researches and buys the equipment and is able to could really start their own show, just like people start their own blogs, right? Am I not right about that?
I would say up until the time of maybe Spotify and Pandora, it had a greater sense of reach. Now a lot of people just, okay, I'll do it myself, and not to reach. So you sort of have to hit that niche where you're appealing to, let's say, the person who likes to get a little something that wouldn't normally think of.
Would you be interested one day in going in commercial radio? Is that something that interests you, or do you like having your own control of something and having fans? Who are your exclusive, underground fans? It's kind of like underground radio almost in a way. Is that something that interests you, or you like being able to do this on your own time at your own space?
Well, it helps to be able to do it in your own time and space. One of the influences of myself is my favorite syndicated radio show is Little Steven's Underground Garage, which is currently on a hiatus, and still on the satellite. The shows, the recorded shows are there, and he also has other DJs besides himself. And that was one of the things that I thought of when you asked about with the internet radio today, that maybe in some instances it's more to become sort of a syndication factory where you produce programming that is available on maybe larger sources
networks
and such.
Stuff
right.
Like that. Very, very.
And that's why I thought of the shows like Girls Night Out and Outside the Box and so forth, because those can reach a larger audience than just, okay, internet radio, unlike, say, television programs, people tune in for, say, a particular song they like, hang around 4 or 5 minutes, and then they jump, oh, I'll find another song or something like that. Unlike, let's say, a TV show when people want their show on Netflix or some other things like that. You know?
So let me ask you a couple of questions
Sure.
as being one of the people that I consider to be more knowledgeable about non-mainstream music, which is popular only in certain sects rather than mainstream that everybody knows. Who do you think is one of the hidden bands in non-mainstream music, but well known in their circle of fans that hasn't yet hit the mainstream, but will in the near future?
Okay, it's funny that you mentioned that because the person I'm going to see that's opening for John Oates is Adam Ezra, and he has the Adam Ezra Band. He is out of Boston, and he is mostly Americana, but John Oates produced his most recent album, and he did 2 duets with them. I would say that, and... So,
Adam Ezra, so you think Adam Ezra is going to make it?
Yes, I think so.
Beyond his circle
Yes,
of
because
fans.
he's one of the people that, let's say, I get people send me music all the time, indie artists and so on, trying to get on the air, and it's very hard these days because very few artists have major label signings. And even bands like Hall & Oates are like self-produce their own labels now and things like that, and that's maybe one of the reasons why they tend to do more solo work now than their own group things, because the more independent you are, maybe you tend to lean that direction.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Who do you think of the well-known bands that you've seen over the years puts on the tightest, best show you've seen?
Well, the best shows I've seen, by all means, have to be Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Because even at this stage in his career, while maybe he doesn't do the 4-hour marathons, he will just go to all extremes. The band only maybe does 60% of the existing show from the previous night in multi-city, and 40% they maybe rehearse maybe close to 200 songs to do maybe 25 to 30 songs in a given night. And even a person goes 2 nights in a row, it's not the same show. I would say more that's like how the Grateful Dead would be, you know, on that given day.
No, that's a great answer. So one more question about your radio show, I guess, in closing. I'm very curious here now. You have to commit for 3 hours. You said 3 hours a day you do your show.
Yeah.
You have to commit for 3 hours a day to really sit down and focus and prepare. Certainly you have to prepare when you have all this music that you're playing and maybe people that you get on the phone, guests on the show and things like that, like you do. You really have to prepare and do this. Does it stifle your life to have that constant commitment, or are you able to record shows and play them when you're not available on certain days? And I don't know if you do that or not, so I thought I'd ask.
That would probably be the greater majority of time in recent times. When I have gone live, sometimes you almost feel like you're an audience of one, especially in internet radio. Like I said, we get little flashes when somebody joins us or something like that. It just like a little light pops up or something, or a listenership. But at least by being recorded and so on, we know that our shows are going to be consistent, and people at a given moment can tune in, they're going to get a quality show.
That's great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. What website, if people want to look for this nonprofit hobby show, which has turned into a radio show, where can they find it?
It's called Friendly Smile Frenzy Network. It will be a picture of a large guitar in the sky.
Well, it was great having you on the show, and I know that people can email us at info@tvrabbi.com if they want to know more about your show, how to get through to your show, and how to watch you or listen to you on the radio. I want to thank you for being on the show, Phil Isaacson. I want to thank your wife, Joyce Isaacson, for talking about her book, Wish You Were Here Badfinger. And I want to thank all of you for being with us. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see former shows on the web. Hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.
Bye, goodbye. Thank you.